Probably shouldn't stick, well, excuse you. I think I've got a 9-inch tucked away somewhere. That gives you more stiffness, probably a little bit more response. Where's my life vest? I'm doing an ultimate comparison of a 2.5, a 3.5, a 4, and a 6 horsepower. These are a mix between Mercury and Tohatsu. All I'm doing is putting in different carburetors. Take this little 2.5 horsepower and I'll just make it a 3 horsepower by swapping out the carbohydrate, the carburetor. Huh. Once I put the 3.5 horsepower carburetor on there, it'll be at 3.5 horsepower, because these two motors are exactly the same. The only difference is the carburetor. The props are the same, the gearboxes are the same, everything's the same. Then once we get to the 4 horsepower, I'm gonna put on 2 different carburetors. I'm gonna run this motor I'm gonna fill it up, completely run it out of.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
Gas. And then however far that goes, I'm gonna test each motor at that distance. Going the same distance that direction toward the swell, against the wind, 1 full tank that way, and then 1 full tank back. That gets the headwind and the following seas and gives me a good estimate of what each motor can do under all conditions. Hitting wakes, waves, wind waves, swells, climbing the swells, following seas. It all makes a difference. Also, these motors, they're all bone stock. The props are stock, everything, except for changing the carbohydrates. Where am I getting that? The carburetors, but that's still stock. It's just changing the horsepower. So it's kind of a slack tide right now. So the current is at its minimum. I'm not gonna go through all of the RPMs and where they're at and all that stuff. I'm just gonna tell you, hey, this is what a stock motor at this horsepower is gonna do with a 200-pound guy, 150-pound boat, roughly, with my batteries and my safety gear. I've got all my safety gear. It probably adds about 20, 25 pounds. And then a fishing rod. I never leave without that. I'd like to do this on freshwater, but I don't want to deal with the quagga mussel inspection and blah, 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 and then deal with just that. So anyway, I come out here to the open ocean, and if this doesn't give you a true test of the motor you want to buy, nothing will. To keep things like even that much more fair, the fuel, so I'm running obviously the internal tank on this because this doesn't have an external tank hookup. There's things you can do to modify this to make it that way, but it does have the internal tank. So what I did, I took enough fuel from this one to fill that one. So it was kind of equal. And then when I start using the 6, I'm gonna leave that same, I'm gonna have that same amount of fuel in this when I start. I just figure if I'm gonna do a comparison, do it right. Apples to apples, long shaft to long shaft, which I thought was perfect for a side-by-side comparison because it's got the same amount of shaft in the water, same amount of drag. So therefore you can really truly compare the speed, the horsepower, the fuel economy of both motors. All right, let's do this. Later, dude. Till the gas runs out. Little 2.5's doing a little better than I thought it would on the rough seas. Well, on the seas. These aren't really rough seas. They're bumpy, but they're not rough. With these 2.5s, you don't need a long shaft. With the 3.5, you don't need a long shaft. Sure, I think the 3.5 is gonna get really close to wanting to plane. If you're really super light you're a little kid or something like that, weighs 80 pounds, carrying nothing on the boat, whatever, you might get a plane out of a 3.5, but planing with a 2.5 on anything, it would be amazing to see that. You just have to have a super light boat, probably a flat bottom boat. I could see like an actual flat bottom John boat, you could probably do it. But on a pond prowler, which is what I'm on, you're not gonna do it. I'm just showing you what a bone stock 2.5, 3.5, 4, and a 6 will do right out of the box, after it's broken in, of course, on the boat that I have for consistency. You can change the props, you can change the jetting, the main, you know, you can do all sorts of stuff to get some more horsepower out of it, to get some more, you know, RPMs out of it. There's stuff you can do, but you're gonna max out each motor. You can only go so much. So this motor, I believe, has a couple props you can get. There's, I think, a couple options for the little guys, the 2.5s and the 3.5s, because they've got those little plastic propellers with the shear pin. You can upgrade to an aluminum propeller, and that gives you more stiffness, probably a little bit more response, a little bit more resilience. If you want to up the carburetor in it, there's 5 horsepower carburetor kits. I don't know if those work or not. I don't think it's going to get you 5 horsepower. It's probably just impossible with this, with the displacement. But, you know, that's me as a motor guy. I'm a gearhead. I look at the displacement and the stroke and all that stuff, and I just don't see it. If this motor can do what it does out here, now you know what it's going to do on freshwater. You know what it's going to do on a pond, you know, because that's all these pond prowlers are designed for. Anyway, it is really smooth. It's very consistent. I mean, it's right at 5 to 6 miles an hour. I mean, climbing waves, wakes. I mean, I've got, you know, some little waves and wakes out here. It's not doing a whole lot of work, but, you know, it's actually relatively consistent. How the power is, the revs stay the same. I'm not going to tell you the revs on this video. I can go through all that on another video, but I can hear that the revs are just very consistent on this little guy. So we'll see how it does with the 3.5. But man, I'm falling asleep out here. This is why I upgraded from this. Oh man, snore. The trim on this motor is set perfectly perpendicular to the hull, to the bottom of the boat. If you tilt that up like this, it's gonna wanna push that rear end into the water, and you're gonna lose speed. We're at about 2.5 miles, still running strong on the tank of fuel. We're at an average of 5 miles an hour, which is strong for this little motor. There it goes. Finally ran out of fuel. Wow, I'm actually quite impressed. That went a lot further than I thought it would. It ran for a good solid hour. Some people say 45 minutes. Maybe that's the salt water. Doesn't really look like I'm 5 miles offshore, but I am, and I'm out of gas. So I'm gonna fill this up real quick. You don't take that 8 miles an hour seriously. That's not real. But the average 5 miles an hour, definitely take that seriously. I know that 8 throws it off, but anytime I looked at the speedo, it was almost constantly at 5 miles an hour with an occasional 6. I'm gonna fill this up, head back, we'll get a total distance, and then we'll test all the 3 other horsepowers exactly the same as this one was, with a full tank of gas and everything. So let's head back, let's change the carburetor, and take it from there. Catalina, maybe another day. I did it exactly 10 miles. And I was that close to my starting point. There's the buoy. So 10.02 miles. So anyway, my average was a solid 5 the whole way. Max speed was 8. I'm not sure how, like I said, I'm not sure how it got that. I was climbing a wave or surfing a wave or something like that, but almost exactly 2 hours. It's still going right now, but we have swapped out the 2.5 carburetor for the 3.5. We're right back here at our starting point, and the difference between the 2.5 and the 3.5 carburetors is more than just jetting and, you know, emulsion tubes and stuff like that. Those are different, but the 3.5 carburetor is bigger. The 2.5 has a much smaller intake throat bore, where the 3.5 is definitely bigger. The 2.5 horsepower has a 9mm venturi, and the 3.5 has a 13mm venturi. So the carburetors are completely different. You have to swap the entire carburetor to get 3.5 horsepower out of that 2.5. So that's about it. Let's get to this. Sitting on the boat makes a huge difference. If you're sitting in the back, you got the standard tiller, you're trying to reach it, stay in the controls. You're not gonna hit these speeds. You're not gonna get that rear end up out of the water where it needs to be for efficiency. You get that front end down a little bit, brings the rear end up. So you're not just plowing the water with the rear end. So it will help. Another thing is, I'm in saltwater. I've always thought that boats float better in saltwater. So this test might not reflect what you guys would see in freshwater. You know, who knows? Maybe the boat, the hull sits lower in the water. Maybe it's less buoyant because of the lack of salinity. So, you know, consider that too. If you guys are in freshwater, muddy water, I mean, shit, I don't know. Does muddy water have more friction? Huh. This is boring. Why would anybody want one of these? We're 5 miles out on the 3.5. I was actually surprised that it picked up as much time as it did. On the 2.5, it took me about an hour to get out here to 5 miles, and this one, the 3.5, took me 53.5 minutes. Top speed of 7. That's definitely more realistic than the other one. But 5 miles, right now we're just sitting, and an average speed of 6 miles an hour. And this is what 5 miles off the shore looks like. So let's head back. Let's see how that average changes and get to 10 miles and go from there. Well, here we are at the end of the 3.5 test. I didn't stop it right at 10 miles, but 10.1 miles. So took me an hour and 41. Definitely about 20 minutes faster on the 10-mile trip. Average speed of 6 miles per hour. The 10 miles per hour, I totally believe that. There was a couple times coming off the waves that I picked up some speed, you know, surfing down the face of them. So for the 10 miles, it was about 20 minutes faster. And
Security, all stations, all stations, all stations. This is United States Coast Guard Sector.
It ran at about, you know, 6 or 7 miles per hour the whole way. So let's go get that 4 horsepower on here and see the difference with that. Today is a different day. My day with the 2.5 and 3.5 was just time consuming, and it just got too late in the day, and the wind kind of picked up, so I didn't really want to really push it. So today I've got my buddies here and a baby, a little baby. I probably shouldn't stick. Well, excuse you. Holy crap, that was rude. All right, anyway. They look so tired. Everything's the same on the motor dynamic wise. So it's got the stock prop, it's got the long shaft, but it's got this is my 6 horse that you guys have seen in videos, and I've just got a 4 horsepower carburetor. I've been on keto too long. So anyway, it's got a 4 horsepower carburetor on it, which just makes it a 4 horsepower. The 5 and the 6 have the same exact carburetor, but just different jets, different jet and emulsion tubes. But to get 4 horsepower out of this, you got to change the whole carburetor because the venturi is smaller. Everything's smaller on it. The venturi, the intake, throat, all that stuff. So anyway, the wind is the same, a little bit of swell, a little bit of ripple, you know, whatever. And you know, I've got the same weight on board. The motor's a little bit heavier, but you know, all but what, 15 extra pounds, maybe 20. But other than that, everything is the same. The fuel is exactly the same. I topped it off, so we get an even test on that. When I switch to the 6 horsepower carburetor on that, I'm gonna fill that up again just to make sure all the weight's good. So I've got all my safety gear. I've got my life vest. Where's my life vest? Never mind. It's right here. So you guys heckled me enough to wear one. I did realize that, you know, if I get bucked off the boat when I'm hauling ass over the water or something like that, I don't have time to grab my life vest. The common sense just wasn't there. But I got a nice, comfortable Bass Pro Shop fishing life vest. So I want to thank my subscribers and my viewers. Not all people that have made comments were subscribers, but there was a lot of really nice comments out there. You know, hey, I'd really like to see you in a life vest and all that stuff. So here it is. I got my life vest on, and I'm going to wear it during any dangerous operations. There's actually a storm moving in. Tropical storm coming up from Mexico that's made the water a little bit rough, but really it's about the same. It's supposed to get cloudier and yuckier today. The mainlanders, they're freaking out that we're gonna get a ½ inch of rain. 4 horsepower, 5 miles out, 5 miles back. As you can see, the dynamic today is no different. Got 2.5 foot swells. The headwinds are still about 5 miles an hour. The humidity is a little higher, so temperature has a much bigger impact on these motors than humidity does. The hotter the weather gets, the less performance you get. The colder and crisper the weather you get, the better they perform. About 1.5 miles in, she's not fully planing. There's a little bit of drag there, especially if I'm climbing a swell or something like that. It bogs down a little bit, but she's pretty strong. Like right now, she's kind of displacing water right now. But top speed for this thing so far, I've kept an eye on it. It's about, I'd say about 11 on plane, not coming down a wave or going up a wave. When it's on plane, it does, so far it does about 11 miles an hour. So that's not bad for a that's not bad for a 4 horsepower, because that's quite a jump from the 3.5 horse. But you know, the props on these are different. They're more, you know, legit props. The prop that comes on the 2.5 and the 3.5, they're kind of janky, little loose, you know, shear pin, cotter pin type deals. The props are smaller. This is a little bigger diameter, bigger blades, just more of a legit outboard motor prop. So that might be the significant difference. Here we are at 5 miles out on the 4 horsepower, average speed of 10. Took me just a frog hair under 30 minutes to get 5 miles. So let's go head back the other direction, 5 miles back, and see how we do. Put my life vest on. Got my safety lanyard. I don't know if you can see it on my glasses. I felt a little drizzle there. Like, oh man. So it made me think, you know, I'm gonna actually check the humidity. And the humidity is almost 90%. So that makes a difference on the motor, but I guess this still tells you what the motor's capable of, because conditions today, humidity wise, it's 30% more than it was yesterday, which makes a motor run not so well as it did in lower humidity. So that's gonna show you the true difference of a 4 horse over those little 3.5s. So if this does way better in the 10 mile, then it'll do even better if the humidity's down at 60, 50, 30. Especially if you're on a John boat, flat bottom or V-hull, this motor will perform a lot better. I'm on a plastic pontoon boat that's made for ponds. And the hull is not really conducive to fast speed. It's definitely got a lot of drag to it. So if you've got a John boat or something like that, you're gonna pick up more speed than I am. You're gonna have a lot better performance. Here's the numbers for the 4 horsepower. Same conditions, except for, like I said, a little bit more humidity. Probably didn't run as good as it could. Oh, and then I'm just wearing a life vest today, so you know, I don't know. Maybe that's wind drag. So I took a screenshot right when I stopped. It says I'm going 3 miles an hour, but I'm not. So 10 miles, average of 10. I reset the maximum speed when we turned around, and it actually only hit 12 on the way back. So I truly believe that 10 mile per hour average is accurate. Took me just a couple of minutes longer to get back for that extra 5 miles, but I had to stop and take some kelp out of my prop, out of my off the shaft of my motor. So let's get in there, top off the fuel tank, so we have equal weight on board, and show you what a 6 can do. This is where it gets fun. remember those days. That's how I started, on a float tube in the harbor. Pond Prowler Adventures.
Hey, someone.
I did. I've now swapped out the 4 horsepower carburetor for a 6 horsepower. This is what this motor came with, was a 6 horsepower. Totally different carburetor. Let's check the numbers on the 6. I normally don't run this propeller on the 6. This is an 8-inch propeller, and it doesn't hit the RPMs that I like. Right now, I don't have the tack on it right now, but I know it's only at about 5,300 RPM. It just doesn't work well with this 8-inch prop, so I usually run a 7, but for purposes of this test, I really wanted to go bone stock. Make sure you guys had a good test of what you're going to get out of the box. This thing should be running at about 5,800 to 6,000 RPM. By putting a 7-inch prop, I can get it there. Pond Prowler has a lot of resistance, so we're not going to really see that. But for purposes of comparison, it was at least on the same boat each time. So let me know in the comments. I can show you the differences in propellers. I've got a 6-inch, I've got a 7-inch, I've got an 8-inch. I think I've got a 9-inch tucked away somewhere. So let me know. I'll do a comparison of all the propellers on the same 6, and you can see the difference that it makes on planing, RPM, all that stuff. That was kind of cool. He gave me permission to get pretty close. I asked him to just let me know if I got too close, and he just said, do your thing, Pond Prowler Adventures. Good times. I think the Catalina Express is gonna beat me to my 5-mile spot. Six horsepower, 5 miles, 12-mile-an-hour average, top speed 14. That's definitely more accurate for a top speed. Took me 25 minutes. It was 5 minutes faster than the 4 horsepower to get 5 miles. Let's head back, do the other 5 miles, and see where we're at. Full throttle. 5 miles. Woo. I could typically get 14 or 15 miles an hour pretty steady, sometimes 16 on a good crisp morning, nice and cool weather. But that's with my 7-inch prop. I don't get those speeds with this 8-inch prop. You guys will if you're not using a Prowler, you're using a single hull boat. When I'm able to get the motor up to 6,000 RPM, or at least close, that's where I pick up the speed, and that 7-inch prop is what does it. I ran a 6-inch prop too, but that's when I have a lot of gear on. I'm running my trolling motor out here, things like that. So you guys with John boats and little metal flat bottom boats, you guys are gonna pick up those 15, 16, 17 mile an hour speeds with the 8-inch prop. If you can find a 9-inch prop, they used to make them. I know Solus makes their props, makes Tohatsu's props. You could probably call Solus and they'll tell you where to find a 9-inch prop. And if you can keep your RPMs up at, 6,000 RPM with a 9-inch prop, man, you're gonna do probably close to 20 miles an hour with this little 6 horsepower. But it's all about the revs. If you can't get that motor up to 6,000 RPM, don't put a bigger prop on it. Put a smaller prop on it. You can play with the jet and the prop and all that, the weight. in the boat, the weight distribution in the boat, you can get some speed out of it. So get yourself a tachometer, they're cheap, and make sure that motor is hitting at least 5,500 RPM. 6,000 is optimum, but it doesn't give you a whole lot of room for over rev if you ventilate or something like that. But most modern motors nowadays have some rev limiters on it. So I really hope that you found this useful. Really gives you a realistic, real-world test of all those little portable outboards that are out there, and gives you an idea of what's appropriate for you, money-wise or just performance. So drop a comment. Let me know if you have any questions. There's probably some stuff I didn't cover. Probably covered too much. Let's look at the numbers for the 6 horsepower. Did 10 miles and an average of 12 miles an hour and a top speed of 16. I know for a fact we got to 16 quite a few times, and it took us well, I don't know, you guys were with me, right? So yeah, took us 52, almost 52 minutes to do that 10 miles. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. And we'll see you on the next video. We got another pond prowler. Look at that. Another pond prowler in the salt water. I'll see him out there someday.